Well, I'm glad. I'm glad I caught that. Um, let's see. Let people know we exist. Boop. Boop. I didn't think I should have. That would have been wise and forward thinking. Posta. There we go. Hello, everyone. I'm AD Springer, also known as Corbinium. This is the Electric Metropolis video game tour, and today I'm playing in another episode of Star Trek Return to the Frontier, currently following the adventures of the hopefully long-lasting and never destroyed USS Thralic. I don't have my hopes high, but we'll find out tonight. Over to you, GM.
Hold on, all formatting hell has broken loose on a map.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. My jokes were so cutting, I cut up the board.
Yeah, there's this thing called the grid, and sometimes the grid wants to be on, sometimes it wants to be off, and it never
Oh.
wants to be what you want it to be.
Yeah.
Oh, it helps if I see the chat. Whoopsie. Sorry. Someone says hi, they'll be annoyed. There we go. I don't know why turning my head helped, but there we
go. We'll go ahead and have the log.
Captain's log supplemental. Stardate 0183.8. We are in a multi-front crisis. I will keep this short. Thralic is holding the Orion smugglers in Tractor, while the Klingon fleet musters on the other side of the border, attempting to instigate a fight. I know not who House Doris is, but I believe this to be a stunt from them for internal political posturing. I attempted to engage in reasonable diplomacy only for the both of us to be interrupted by the arrival of a spaceborne gestalt entity the size of a large starship appearing and consuming one of the Klingon D7s. I believe we are in a first contact scenario with a deeply alien and potentially hostile being. End log.
go.
If not friend, why friend-shaped?
What is friend-shaped in this scenario?
The thing that's eating Klingons and the things and also the things that were eating my crew. So friend.
Okay.
Cat logic.
What?
Cat logic.
Oh, cat logic. I thought you said Captain Logic. I'm sorry.
Well, also Captain Logic.
Well, our captain is without logic, so.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's rich coming from Aratana.
Hey, where I come from, it's called common sense.
From space.
Watch it, you cod-choking son of a bitch.
Jesus.
Cod choking.
Although he's a
we love each
bluebell or
other here,
something
don't we,
now.
folks?
Blue nose, man. Blue nose.
Blue nose, bluebell, blue blood, whatever.
I don't. What's blue?
Oh God, it's a color on the color spectrum. You see it frequently
Are you
in the
having
sky.
a good?
So
Are you
true.
having fun,
So true.
Winchester? We're
I
you were
wasn't.
struggling to hold. You were struggling to keep control of this. You haven't even started.
I have not yet begun to keep control of anything but awkwardly formatted tokens in Roll20.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah. Oh God, it's space.
Grid.
It's space.
Final
As you
Frontier.
see.
Oh, get away with you.
see
God,
yourself.
we
and you
look like
might
a freedom class.
want a name.
Name. Yeah.
USS Thralik. The red line is the border. It's not actually there floating in space, as borders tend not to do.
That's for you, audience. We knew that.
Where's
And we
the
still got
Orion
the
ship?
Orion, right?
They're in your they're
Square. Okay.
sharing a zone with you.
Yeah, I don't know why I said square. These aren't squares.
It could be. For some reason, space doesn't feel square. Face feels hexish.
You know, it's
Thank
all
Mark Miller
it's
for
all
that.
relative.
Space is a D20.
All
Not
of
more
these
than
things
So-
can be true.
You see, as said on screen, one of the D7s becomes a undulating metallic form and seems to attack one of the D7s.
One of the D7s becomes an undulating mass form and then attacks another one.
Yes.
So there
Yeah,
were
there's
two in that circle before.
well, like a D7 came streaking across towards the three
Oh,
that
okay.
were there, and then it seemed to transform into the silver thing.
Yep.
And
And then attack this one.
Gotcha.
Oh, and I should get the correct amount of threat.
It's a one-threat game, I bet.
No, I think there's 3.
Okay. That's why
It's
I
been
don't
escalated.
the captain just dropped, so he can only get
know.
12.
Everyone, get away from
Why
the
did
table quickly.
I didn't drop. I just reloaded the page because it's doing a thing where it wasn't displaying threat or momentum.
That's because there was none.
Oh, what? I hit the reload. I hit the reload button because I like it. Okay,
Wee. Button go beep.
Here.
I like consuming internet bandwidth. It's my favorite hobby.
That's your favorite hobby?
It is.
Okay.
Weird choice.
I mean, it's better than collecting socks, I guess.
I've done a lot of it in all my years of being alive, so I presumably have to like it.
Collecting socks?
No, consuming internet whatever. You're so mean. I also
Oh.
own a good amount of socks, but like I wouldn't
That
say
was
I'm a
like
collector
watching
of
a car
socks.
crash.
Whatever. I can feel my
Oh.
authority as captain slipping away.
Well, you're a Commodore for one.
I'm still a captain of the vessel.
I mean, are you?
Yes.
How you doing, GM?
I didn't know you got the Starfleet decoration for snippiness.
It's called logic.
For snippiness. I thought you said for sniffing us. I was like, what? What have you
He's
been
being the
sniffing?
opposite of a butt sniffer right
We
now,
were
so.
we were so close. We were so close to getting back to
GM,
it.
for the love of God, tell me this thing eats our ship.
No,
Oh,
it's
damn.
you find yourselves in a conflict, and I am about to roll for them
Oh no.
How are we in a conflict?
because anytime anyone in the universe does anything hostile, suddenly things slow down, and you have to narrate your actions moment by moment.
How
Like
do we
real
get
life.
anything done? Yeah.
One,
We
It's a
don't,
good question.
mostly.
one turn
We
at a
can
time.
settle entire days in a single line of
That's-
a single line of description until combat happens. Then we can't.
That would be funny, Corbinian, if I didn't live in America.
Yeah.
Everything is just always slowed down in conflict lately.
Just get to the next round. One tempest at a time.
Yeah, right.
Oh no! Control of 1, command of 0. That's a
That's
terrible roll.
not true. That's what happens when you don't have anything selected.
I was like, that's
Because it turns out starships or starship-sized aliens don't actually have control. They have systems.
yeah.
But that was a 15 and a 12.
Y'all.
So that second die was enough to get the help from the crew. In this case, they haven't. The book doesn't have examples of things like the crystalline
Cosmozoans.
entity. So I'm assuming that they work like in starship scale. They work like starships, and the crew will represent intelligence, while the systems and departments represent physical ability.
I mean, that's pretty reasonable to me. It's all an abstraction, anyways.
Yeah. This red line in black space is totally giving me Traveler vibes, though. And the hexes.
Yeah, I love that sort of black, black, white, and red retro futuristic aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
The only question is, what supplement is this?
Book 3, at least. Starships.
Oh yeah.
So that's the difficulty hit. And they hit 2. The computers.
Right in the computer. Hope if I had the book open.
As the D7, not actively in a conflict yet, did not have its shields up.
Ooh. Well, rip those guys.
That
Oh.
means they also suffer another breach, which goes to structure.
They need that.
Oh, not red, blue. Hmm. They are not keeping the initiative. So it will go to y'all.
Do the Klingons and the entity share the same attack initiative?
In this case, we're alternating. It's one of them and then you, one of them and then you. It's not to indicate that they share a side, but that there's no.
They're not on our side.
Yeah, there's nothing yet to show that either of them are allies of you.
Mm-hmm.
And the system doesn't have any examples or suggestions for three-way incidents.
Yeah. That's what I figured. I just want clarification. Okay.
Orders, Commodore.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is our sensor operator back on the bridge? No, because we were in lockdown and he wasn't on the bridge when we went into lockdown.
The lockdown I think has been resolved.
Yeah.
So, you can now assume people have moved throughout the ship to where they need to be.
Yeah, because last thing I reported was that the thing just faced the wall, so the lockdown's pointless.
Okay.
And
Then
and I think Revere has reported that there's no sign of the hostile life forms anymore. There's a different singular life
Yes.
form.
Yes.
Yeah, the fact that it can phase through the walls means that the lockdown is more of a hindrance to us than an aid.
yeah, and
And the
warp
thing you
core
were
is
trying to
back
lock down
online,
doesn't.
correct?
They're not there anymore.
Although
dead.
The ship.
recall that the bridge was on a separate lockdown.
So then
I
it's
don't-
it is entirely up to the Commodore whether Ivanov is on the bridge or not.
Yeah, when this happened, she would have ordered him back to the bridge.
Then he is on board. So
Okay. Then she's going to say, Ivanov, tell me what I'm looking at.
Yes, Captain. Or I will try. We will see.
okay. So I would suggest probably a minor of calibrate sensors or launch probe.
You would suggest.
Captain would veto a probe, given that would have to cross the border.
Yeah, that'd be a bit mad about that, I imagine.
Yeah, they'd claim it was a torpedo, and
Actually,
Well,
it's, it-
technically is a
it's still a border
torpedo.
violation.
Yeah. So yeah, calibrate sensors.
All
oh, I
right.
mean, yes, it would absolutely be a border violation. But also knowing the Klingons, they'd also claim it was a torpedo,
Yeah.
and that'd be even worse.
I mean,
There currently is not a trait affecting the task, so you kind of auto gonna have to choose the reroll. And then I guess you could do a sensor sweep or colorfully interpret the Commodore's orders and do a reveal.
I'm lost on what the second part means.
You get to reroll a d20 on your sensor roll.
You have your major action left.
Yeah.
Yeah, the normal the if you're trying to gain information, then sensor sweep is the
Traits
major
another way to
test
do it.
you probably want to do.
No, I was meaning the reveal part.
Oh, that was just kind of tongue in cheek. If you expect that there are other cloaked vessels, that's what you do,
Oh.
not sensor sweep.
Yeah, no, we'll sensor sweep.
Reason science assisted by sensor science, diff 1.
Sensor operations.
Yes.
Shocking.
Hope not.
We're on the bear, so there's that. There's technical expertise in our interface. I just hope we don't get hit, because if we do get hit, that's gonna suck. For me specifically. They really upped the downsides of neural interface.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you take a hit if the ship gets hit because you're linked to it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Deadly 4 piercing. Yeah, they were like, yeah, let's add a bunch of extra shit to this, and there's no longer a chance that you take nothing. It's you are taking damage. Oh, and we made it deadly. Yeah, that was a thing. What's the difficulty I'm looking at here, or is it just
1.
you find more out by difficulty?
No, it's difficulty 1.
Okay.
You could buy additional zones as obtain information. Right now, you
Right.
get 1 zone, which is 1 square.
Or hex even.
One
Okay.
hex.
Yep. So I do want a couple more then, probably, because that would be ideal. Sure, we'll give you 3. What's the worst that can happen? Smiley face.
I think specifically a torpedo that hits the computer system, from what I heard.
No, any system. The ship at all.
Yeah.
I feel like I should make it worse if it hits computers.
Okay. The talent's already trying to kill me. The GM's like, how can I make this worse? Oh, that's really good.
Oh, I assumed you were, for some reason, I assumed you were scanning the closest ship. It may not be the case.
Well, I mean, I've made extra stuff, so we'll,
Okay.
we can broadly do a couple of things here.
Yeah, I mean, I would like a scan of the
Yeah,
big
fish
alien.
for that, Artana. How'd you get 18 twice?
Talent.
Technically, I have the ability to fish again. It's just a bad idea.
Yeah, you might get a
Because I can no longer fix it.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it
1,
there.
2, 3, 4, 5. Do you get a bonus thing as a science
Yeah.
guy? You get a bonus question. That's what it is.
I get a bonus question. And I don't think the ship gives us anything for sensors.
So I'll take the do you have a free spend or free
As a
question?
science officer, yes.
Okay, I assume you're going to ask that about the blob.
Yes, please.
So you've identified this ship is the honor of the Duras. It does not have hot weapons or shields at the moment. And then your additional information is this is a larger version of what the doctor's records call the unidentified life form 2032. In fact, we will add a -A to indicate that it is a different specimen than the original one.
Okay, good. Because otherwise I was going to have a clarification question on that.
You might still ask that question. All that is to indicate this is the second thing you have scanned that has these readings. It's not to indicate that it is or is not the same individual.
Okay. Then we will clarify if it is the same individual or if it contains some of the same prior specimens, given they're missing. Unless that's two separate questions, in which case it's two separate questions. But
it seems compatible with the energy readings seem compatible with those the doctor has taken, leading you to believe that it is either part of or a subcomponent of this larger form.
okay, that was a momentum sponge there, Corbinian.
Yes.
Roger.
And that makes 2 momentum spends in regards to obtain. The first one counts as obtain information, right? Or is that a different thing for the additional scans?
You spent your free 1 and 1 off the table.
Yeah, but are those both considered obtain information spends?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to ask because rapid hypothesis is for obtain information, so I wasn't sure if the sensor scan thing was a separate thing technically. But I can immediately create a trait representing the theoretical understanding of the subject of these questions, in which case the subject has been this blob.
You only one of your questions was about the blob. One of them was assumed to be
Of the area.
of the
Honor of Duras.
of the Klingon ship. That's why I
thought...
told you it's
Okay, so initial scan was that.
Sorry, you got for free that this
question.
You got for free that this was the ULF 2032 -A, and then we assumed your free question was which ship is this?
Oh, I thought we were going the other way.
Either way, it actually. Okay, yeah, going it the other way will allow you to use that trait, so we'll do it that way. Because you needed 2 questions. You needed to obtain informations about this. Your free thing could the task you succeeded on doesn't count. You need to obtain information on that thing to set a trait about it. So
Yes.
you've done that.
A trait in regards to let me double check here. Our understanding of the subject, of which I believe, having any understanding of what seems to be a life form capable of just existing in the void of space is new. Let alone a shape-shifting thing. So I don't know what trait we'd assign to that other than like beginnings of understanding.
I
Or comprehension.
would suggest changing the trait iridium-based intelligence to Gestalt iridium-based intelligence. You now know that this represents the sum of a whole of parts.
Yeah, no, that sounds appropriate.
Any other questions?
Should I identify the second ship? Possibly, probably.
Sure. And may I also suggest asking if it's possible to communicate with that guy? Because I think it might be important.
Who is that guy?
The ULF 23 or 2032A.
It's not a ship, it's a life form. Technological communication is perhaps difficult. That seems like a doctor question, given the
Okay.
paper
Okay.
he
I mean,
seems to
I
have
was
worked
just
on.
a suggestion, but yeah.
I can always ask, but we'll ask about the ship first. The other ship.
Good.
We like keeping our records straight in the Federation. Ow.
Take that.
I have had this cough for long enough that my chest has bruised.
Golly.
That is the house ship Secret Blade.
Not so secret anymore. Ha ha ha.
Yes,
And it
an
has
honor and a secret in the same fleet.
shields and weapons down, and it has a breach to computers and structure.
And it's a D7, right?
It is a D7.
I forget what scale those are, but
4.
it's like 4. Yeah, so it's halfway to bugged. Okay. Do we have a means of communication with ULF 2032A that is known or reportable by Ivanov without further rolls needed, or is that something we would need to investigate?
The doctors, yes, you can spend momentum on that.
Yep.
The doctors research indicated ways to interpret different energy readings as basic forms of communication, but the doctor was dealing with a less than sapient being. So there
You
was
might have better luck.
not much information to be transferred. So
Right, he was actually there in person when that was Ivanov.
Yeah,
Was there when
and
that was. Yep.
there was no hint of language. It was positive and negative responses to different situations.
But with the assumed intelligence increase relative to size.
Do we
Okay.
know it? I mean, we can presume it's more intelligent, but do we know that?
No, that's why I said the
Yes.
presumed intelligence increase
Oh.
relative to size.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, the doctor did have research to suggest that a larger entity would be more intelligent.
Okay.
And he postulated like the extent, but
Okay. So it's possible that the entities that were on the ship are now part of that entity. That's not 100%. We know that they've left our vessel personally.
This is clarification. The entity that the doctor was dealing with matches the scans from Revere's tricorder. The other entities you dealt with do not. The ones that came from the Orion ship have no correlation to the entity the doctor worked with or the one that you see in front of you. In fact, I think the Artana has seen the two of them interact, and it was a hostile interaction.
Right. Okay, so we're dealing with two different kinds of shapeshifter, one of which potentially left the ship. Did the other ones, the ones that we took from the Orion to leave the ship, or are they still on our ship? I missed the end of the last episode, so I'm.
That would have to be. You'd have to ask Revere that.
Or could
As
he
in, you
scan
can ask
ours?
Claire right now his opinion of what happened, but I could not without.
Okay, as long as there isn't like a fact known, then I'm not gonna waste a thing here. So, because the question was going to be scanning our zone, which includes the Orion ship and the area of space around us, for any immediate hazards or changes.
You can do that as a spend.
Yeah, I would like to do that, please.
The Orions seem to have either stopped or finished destroying the additional cargo. So they're no longer shooting anything. And you don't have any reports on the ship at this moment of hostile creatures. Only the one that Revere has. Actually, that's a good question. Being that Revere now needs to get the engineering bay back up and running, what is he doing about the entity in the cargo bay, given that it's just kind of existing there right now?
There was also the other one that was sludged by Ivanov. We did shoot one.
Yeah, that one's just goo on a deck plate.
Yeah, okay.
Do we have Revere?
Yeah. So sorry, I was chewing something crunchy. So when I went into the bay after the report that the life signs of the crew impersonating alien were no longer present, did I notice like the remains of the crew impersonating aliens, aka
No.
the
There were
green
no
stuff?
remains.
Okay, so just the 2032
Yep.
entity. Did it appear to be hostile, particularly towards me, anyway?
didn't take any particular actions. It
Okay.
just kind of had a um, it had a amorphous form and seemed not to take any action in response to you.
Okay. I'm assuming the basic positive negative signaling that the doctor determined was in the report that I accessed to once the computer recognized the scan.
That would have to be something you looked into separately.
Okay.
You have had time to decide whether you shut off the whole cargo bay, whether you just put a force field around it, whether you do nothing, but much more than that would be something you do on your turn. That's largely the question: is do you cordon it off in any way?
Yeah. I don't know. It seems to me like it's been moving through the ship pretty much no matter what from the bridge report. So there's a security team down here, so I'll leave an officer on the inside of the bay to keep an eye on it, but with orders not to engage, molest, or get in its way if it starts doing something, but just to report. And then have another security officer stationed outside the door and
All
just
right,
kind of get to work on
then
restoring
Ivanov,
engineering.
that's your understanding of the situation down there.
Yep. And just as a clarification, there's nothing outside of our ship aside from the Orion vessel at this time.
There's debris from destroyed containers that they've been shooting at, but none of it shows any signs of that would draw Ivanov's attention. It's mostly in there.
Sweet. Yeah, it was just kind of a question of, did something slip out of a vessel and is just sitting in our zone? I should ask that question and find out.
The answer is no.
Lovely. Okay, so yes, I don't think I've got another question.
I thought that was an additional question. That's how I was like,
No, that was the one that would have spent this second to last, not the last.
All right. Any keeping of the initiative?
No. But for free, can I say that I've called the doctor to the bridge because his expertise here might be useful? Even if he doesn't arrive yet. All right, then yeah, she will say, Dolores to Dr. Tweer, the entity you've studied before appears to have appeared in front of our ship. Your expertise is needed upon the bridge.
Understood, Commodore.
All right, it goes back to them. The honor of the Duras will minor raise shields. They will the captain. This will be the captain's turn. Where is he?
I just hope he's on the
Is.
ship.
One would presume, but that's not him. That's him. He is going to spend an extra from his pool to raise to raise weapons. Actually, I take that back. I was thinking for some reason that those were common minor actions, but I think oh no, both of those are done from tactical.
Right.
Okay. So actually what I'll have him do is override the controls of his command chair to a tactical station. Which I do not believe is a roll. And then he'll raise shields and weapons. He will then direct. He's going to spin 2 from his pool to keep the initiative. Because I don't believe he has. No, he does not. Oh, I owe you 2 threat. And I think I owe myself 2 threat, so it's going to wash out. I think constantly watching would have given you 2 threat Artana.
Yeah.
Because you're in the scene. But he would also have gotten constantly watching because someone hostile to him
Yeah.
acted first. So I'm checking if his ship helps with the direct, because I think there is. I don't know if his ship has it. But there is a talent.
A command ship or something like that.
For some ships.
Oh no, that's not what command ship does. I'm wrong. I'm just saying, if we ram them, they'll never see it coming.
You are correct. That is not what command ship does. Is there a... Are you allowed to take a minor in place of a major?
No, a major needs a major.
Okay.
Well, can you take a colonel in replacement of a major?
Man.
He is going to order the Secret Blade to take defensive fire. And as part of that direct, they will buy an additional minor to raise shields. And a second one to restore to raise weapons.
Expensive. But they're being attacked by, oh god, what is that? So worth.
Yeah, I think it warrants it. It goes back to y'all.
So, as far as we know, we have no way of communicating with the alien.
Though we may have a way of
No,
communicating
as
with it.
far as you know, you have an alien. You could compare it to if somehow putting a bunch of chimpanzees in a room together made a human. You know how currently to understand if one of those subcomponent chimpanzees either approves or disapproves of the current situation. Not about specific elements, where does it like what you gave it, does it like the temperature of the room, but just does it like the current situation or does it not like the current situation. Now, communicating with the superintelligence, the combined version that has that you believe to be but have yet to confirm is sapient. You could still use that same system. Do like check its energy output to determine whether it has an approval or disapproval of the current situation. But that's the most the doctor had researched.
Was able to work out, yeah.
There's
Because at
nothing
that
to say.
at that point I was just dealing with like dog intelligence.
So there's nothing to say greater communication is not not possible. It's just
Unknown.
Okay.
That's
I
what I
think
thought.
that the doctor postulated on the large scale of the entity an intelligence literally off the Federation's
Yeah.
ability to measure. So, I mean, it might be
Yeah.
worth just broadcasting the standard first contact packages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? She's going to say, Artana, see if we might be able to engage in standard first contact procedures with the alien.
Very well, Commodore, though I imagine it's going to be somewhat busy engaging the Klingons. Firing up communication systems. Opening up standard package. And yeah, I am going to essentially create the trait of firing off the full first
a
contact
hail.
package.
A hail is a free action.
I mean, if it responds to a hail, but hail is just a ping. I'm here. I exist. Talk back to me. I don't know if I was ordered to give it the first package, right? So I'll do it.
I would count that. I would count that as a
Fibonacci
hail
secret.
because you're not. There's no question of whether you would succeed or fail to do that.
Okay. I won't
Whether
argue.
it is able to understand, that's a task roll on its side, right? But this is not much different than a ping, I would think. Now, if you if you were trying to do something specific, like I know its intelligence is geared this way, let me alter the standard, then I think that would be a trait. Or additional information you're sending, but I think you're covered by a free action, so you'd still have your major.
Yeah, I'll freely ping it.
And she'll say, science, while he pings, observe the creature to see if you can detect a response.
You scaled him.
Well,
Hold on, you're getting a response. I'm
Okay.
setting it up.
With our non-invasive research done prior. Oh, look, there's extra momentum just sitting here on the scene. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Ah.
There's just 2 momentum sitting there.
Ah.
Pick a station, damn it.
I was.
I think, yeah. I still can't move that.
Which is good because you don't need to in this case. Describe Aratana's most trusted authority figure and most trusted inquisitive figure.
Most trusted authority figure was his former boss in the Colonial Security Service. He's the reason I wasn't drummed out, and he always gave me a lot of support in my younger days. And most inquisitive.
A Vulcan?
Pt.III, actually.
Pt.III. What was his personality like?
Very pragmatic, but also always demanded me to have proof. Like, I couldn't just go on gut. I couldn't go on instinct. He would argue me into the dirt to prove why I needed to do something.
Okay.
Which made me a better investigator.
And your most trusted inquisitive figure?
That was a classmate of mine at the Mars Technical. A Lisa McLaughlin. She was one of those keeners who always asked questions in class, and it got annoying at first, but then it actually turned out she had like actual questions that were actually helpful to know. Very friendly. From Rigel 7, if I remember correctly.
Thankfully, I'm lucky enough to have a Pt.III somewhere here. There he is. Then the bridge seems to stop around you, the lights on your panel freeze in place, which is unusual. Things like the oscillating power to the communications array freezes, which normally means it's been destroyed, but that couldn't have happened. And then you look across the other indicators and the panel seems frozen. A quick look around the bridge shows the other crew members seemingly frozen in time. And above you stands your former boss and former classmate. The boss says to the classmate, to crewman McLaughlin, I don't see any signs of the intelligence you claim. And then McLaughlin pulls out a standard tricorder and starts scanning you and shows it to your former boss. And he says, perhaps a mild form of intelligence, but this is inconclusive. And they both kind of stare at you for a second.
Well, I got a few questions for you. I'll turn to my chair and look at them.
It is continuing its attempts at communication. That is a sign of an inability to handle changes to the situation. And the McLaughlin figure starts taking notes.
Well, it seems to be a mighty shallow observation of the data in front of you. You have not engaged much interaction with the first contact you're encountering. Also, it would help if you identify yourself to the subject, as that's usually a parameter for establishing intelligence and recognition. For example, I'm Lieutenant Junior Grade Aratana, the USS Thralic. Aratana talking like he knows everything. He only took the damn course a few months ago.
Very well. We are Sirot.
Sirot? Pleasure to make your acquaintance. Now, may I ask why, and all that is good and bright, you are choosing to take the forms of people I know?
To determine your level of intelligence and to not spark a fearful reaction that those of your capabilities are oft to do.
I might caution you, or at least alert you to the fact that I am of a Vulcan persuasion and therefore a little more inert to fear responses, though some do lean upon that emotion a little harder than they should, so.
The McLaughlin figure kind of walks around and scans Tawir, and then scans the captain and scans Griffin and comes back and motions to show the results. And the figure, like your boss, says, it does seem that those of your particular abilities do exhibit a higher intelligence and a greater resistance to the effects of emotion. Perhaps you are the intelligent form of your species.
Well, this is a Starfleet vessel that implements a variety of species to go into a cohesive whole for infinite diversity and infinite combination results in higher success rate. especially when traveling across stars and encountering new life forms like yourself. Well, new to us anyway.
He looks back over and says, then it's a G-type, explorative, partially militarized.
There are people who would correct you there. I'm not one of them. I muttered to myself.
He says, G-types often have those who believe they belong to the higher and lower types. It's an unstable type. It often transitions quickly to another type.
That I believe. I do have to ask you though, a couple things. I'm asking you many things, I suppose. One, is everyone all right? I mean, they're all frozen in Tableau here, and I want to make sure their hearts ain't stopped or their brains aren't frozen or anything.
Do you understand the effects of high density on space-time?
Took a 6-hour course on it, so I'm fuzzy.
You may be aware of phenomena like stars. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. If we wish, we can isolate to a higher density than that, creating a gradient in time. They are simply moving slower, and we are using a localized variable density to keep you in a space-time you are familiar with.
Well, that's mighty fascinating.
I'm sure.
Well, I gotta wonder. Are you the creature or entity that I attempted to hail earlier? Or are you a whole new entity that is intervening in this bit of trouble?
This is our response to your attempts at communication.
Oh, good.
We were not sure you were capable of any higher form of communication.
The same was
And we've
our
confirmed
thought on
that
your
this
end.
is the highest form of communication
Oh,
you responded to.
I appreciate you calling me back.
Very good. Well, we're going to note the potential for free will, which means although we intended to push your vessel into conflict with the offending vessels, we will not.
That's appreciated.
But we have found part of us here, and so we will have to extract that regardless of your opinion in the matter.
I do have a suggestion that will smooth the transition if you like. Not much I can stop you, but just a way to smooth things and make you give a good impression. Beyond me, anyway.
Continue.
I mightn't suggest to my superior officer, I gesture, that we have that you take custody of your fellow life form, and we rather than it appear to be an invasion, and then you take them. It's a slight delay, but inconvenience, but one I think you can handle.
He kind of comes over here and studies Solaris after you say that and says, really? It is unusual that an inferior form is allowed to perform complex communications and diplomacy. Are you sure you're the inferior form?
I am. Vulcan emotions cut back what he was about to say. I am.
Subordinate.
I am the designated communications officer to allow our captain to facilitate various other operations aboard the ship. So, high levels of diplomacy go to the captain, but initial contact is started with communications officers. We are equal in our rights and privileges therein, but in our roles, I have my job, she has hers. Hierarchical structures, you know. Makes for organizing.
We'll have to note that down. Your level of intelligence, we presumed, meant that you had surpassed these separations.
One tries to pursue culinar, I suppose. I do it as a hobby more than anything. He smirks at that. Because no one on his planet does that.
Suddenly, they disappear from view and the bridge returns to action. I think you're left with your minor and your major.
Commodore, a report. I have just had contact with the alien beings inside my psychic ability, or theirs, I suppose. Long story, short answer. They seem to try to instigate this particular combat between us and the Klingons. They deemed us to be not dumb. And they want to take their people back.
Yes, of course, we will return whatever part of their collective we have come into contact with. Were you able to ascertain what they are doing to the Klingons and why?
I was more concerned at proving our intelligence and sapiency. I regret to say I wasn't asking too much about the Klingons. Probably should have. I admit, Commodore.
Were you able to communicate a lack of ill intent on our part and that we did not take their missing fellow?
They were struggling to figure out if we were intelligent enough to even put two and two together, so hostile intent wasn't really the first thing they were terribly worried about. If anything, they were trying to spark the between us and them. But against them, they didn't feel any sort of bubbling resentment or nothing.
Yes, but we could end their hostilities with the Klingons. I think less Klingons would die, and
I think enough information has to be passed here that I will take presence science for Artana to accurately pass this information in a single action.
Sure.
okay, sorry.
I will.
And that'll allow you to act on all the information that happened there without Corbinian restating it, unless he says he keeps something to himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there'd be no reason to hide anything. What's the diff? Sorry.
2.
2.
I will spend to add 1. I'll spend to bring that up from 2 to 1 because you said something misleading.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a good value for this particular situation, and I don't think any of the current directives fire. Maybe Directive 2, but I don't think they need our aid.
They certainly haven't been asked for it.
Yeah, exactly.
We're the heroes the Klingons need, not the one they deserve.
I'm Pt.III.
Argman.
Would Stoic and Danger fire
You
here?
could invoke Directive 1, because if you fail
Oh, I
to
suppose.
accurately inform the Commodore, they could attack you.
That's true. Yeah, I'll totally spend that.
They've already told you they'll do that.
I'll totally spend that directive to make sure I get this down.
Okay.
Oh, boop. I won't buy any dice because it's honestly my stat for this is kind of garbage. Yeah.
That's 2 successes. Yeah, everything that was said, the Commodore's now aware of. The only clarification and the reason for the difficulty increase was that after talking about it, y'all agree that there was no psychic element involved here. They were manipulating time using gravity to bend space time. There was no psychic interaction.
Yeah, probably a good a few beat pause there in his part of wait, hold on, that's not what I'm supposed to report.
So technically, Artana is now a couple of minutes older than the rest of us would be.
Yes, Tippy's gonna give out any day now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would like to, or we don't have to spend to keep because I have the thing that lets us keep for free, and I would like to try the hail, the thing. If I
So
can.
Minor to move over to the comm station.
Yep.
I'll spend my minor. Since I know you're coming over, I will spend my minor to get out of your way.
Okay.
You hailed him. And who does Solaris see as or respect most as a diplomat?
Ooh, specifically a diplomat. It's a great question. I believe Sarek is a diplomat at this point, right?
Been one for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, he is. I believe he is the principal diplomat to the Federation.
Then yeah, then it's probably him because at least out of any of the characters she's met in game, none of them have been diplomats.
Yeah, the only one I would say that had any diplomatic element to them was the leader of Surok's retreat.
Oh, she does not respect them at all.
You may be getting that mixed up. That's the people that were attacked by that rogue doctor who created the virus.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, not okay. Never mind. Yeah, I don't think her captain turned admiral did. It was never know that this is especially diplomatic. So as a yeah.
Then the world seems to freeze around you, and the panel seems to freeze around you as you try to initiate a communication, and Sarek appears on the bridge.
Yes, Flourish just says, "Live long and prosper." I am to understand that you are the Gestalt entity in the space in front of our vessel.
You could incorrectly assume that.
Would you like to correct my mistakes?
No, but you have asked them, so I will. We are not a sum of parts. We are, and parts do not die when they're severed.
Yeah, Soloris nods her head and says, "I apologize for my ignorance. You are not like most organisms we encounter."
No, there are many inferior organisms you would have encountered.
I must humbly make a request of you that, well, first, I must humbly ask you why you are engaging in your current activities with that Klingon vessel.
There was a part of us there. It is no longer there. It is with us.
Yes. We've also, our first encounter with you was with a Klingon who had taken a part of you as a trophy.
Yes.
Mm.
A Klingon, as you call them, a group of them working together managed to damage us and leave with some of us. We are recollecting ourselves. If you wish not to get involved, you may relinquish the part of us you have.
I shall endeavor to do as such as soon as I can. I, however, must humbly ask you to refrain from further hostilities with the Klingons after you have acquired the parts of yourself. They are an ignorant people, even by our standards, and I am afraid that further hostilities between them and us will arise from since then if they suspect that we are involved with you in some capacity.
That seems an unlikely request to grant. It is the natural way of things to allow you to kill each other over minor disagreements. To interfere in that would alter the natural order of things.
Violate your prime directive, as it were.
I will give you insight,
Mhm.
science, difficulty 1.
Okay. I'm gonna spend a,
Almost, but there's a difference.
I'll spend her one momentum. A focus in diplomacy.
No.
Okay.
Gain 1 momentum. They do not see you this is not equivalent to the prime directive. This is more this is closer to the way a ecologist would speak about species within a reserve.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be disturbing the natural way of things to prevent you from killing each other.
Okay.
These.
She said, yeah, Soloris begins to put the pieces together and she says, I do not believe anything I could say could conduct diplomacy with you because I do not believe that you view me as an equal. Whether that is right or wrong is not my place to say at the end of the day. Very well then. I have made my request of you known. I do not believe I have any further dialogue to transmit with you.
Presence command difficulty 5.
Okay.
There's a chance, however slim, that they deign to speak
Focus in
to you on your level.
rhetoric.
Yes.
A value of my word is law.
No.
No, because I'm not being very authoritative. Yeah.
Well,
realized
no,
that-
it's not even that. It's that there's no version of this that they respect your authority or position. That they're not even aware that you're part of a interstellar group outside of this ship at the moment.
Okay.
Like Artana told them about the Federation, but didn't say anything about the Federation being like
A whole
Larger than this
thing.
a whole
starship.
thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because they may not have cared. They seem to have not extracted much information from the Standard Hail.
Okay.
They did, but only what they cared about.
Okay. Could I argue for logic is the beginning of wisdom, not the end, that nothing about this is playing into logic because they don't exist on the same level of reality as I do, so it's hard to logic with them?
No, I would say you were being pretty logical, and that's gotten
That's
you. That's almost gotten you somewhere. So
that's pretty fair. Alright, I don't think I'm gonna have a determination here. One momentum, 2 threat, 1 momentum, 5 threat. Let's go. Oh, sorry, I meant to say a focus in diplomacy. Does that apply?
you asked rhetoric first, and I accepted.
Oh, you did. Okay.
2 momentum gained.
Mhm.
And it says, I have re-examined the information. You have claim to large tracts of space.
A statistically significant amount of this galaxy, although I know not how much that means to you.
Okay, boomer.
Nothing. But for you,
Nod.
it matters. And you're likely to become irrationally hostile if we act within it without your approval. So, as a sign of good faith, I will ask for your approval to proceed to a planet nearby in your territory and annihilate it after we have annihilated the Klingons for their offenses. This planet is being occupied by those who have helped facilitate the trade of our self.
I do not condone capital punishment for any such crime. I do not believe I can stop you from committing this event, but I cannot give you permission to do it either.
That is an unacceptable response. I do not believe, from what I understand about you, that you would accept the protestations of these Klingons should they have traded in something like an Aratana.
And we can always get another one.
We engage in offensive and defensive protocols only as a last resort.
Well, what resort have you given
Exterminating
me?
a planet.
Or if it's fun.
If you allow us to go to this planet and to retrieve this part of you, would that avoid your destruction of it?
Perhaps it's misleading. The destruction of the planet is not of interest. It's the people there. The things like you.
Is your goal to destroy the people in vengeance, or is your goal to return the part of yourself that's missing?
That is correct. Yes.
So both?
Yes. And those of your level of intelligence often respond to extreme violence as a deterrent. For a limited time.
I understand the logic of your actions, even if I would not personally partake in them.
That is understandable. You do not know many things.
Yeah, Solaris just nods and says, yes, there is much for us to learn. Well then, I believe we are at an impasse. Do what you feel you must do, but I humbly request that you limit yourself to only that.
If this is all you can offer in terms of diplomacy, then I suggest you accept a loss when it is presented with you and allow us to proceed to this planet and carry out our directive. The destruction of you and your other intelligences here would not prevent nor facilitate that eventuality. It would merely be an unfortunate side effect.
What is the planet and how many live upon it?
He moves his hand and it appears on the view screen. And he says, your star charts provide no name, only the designation of X015.
How many do you plan to eliminate?
Of those equivalent to your intelligence, or of all things that exhibit some level of intelligence?
Of those with some level of sapience.
Approximately 172.
And Jim, do I recognize this planet?
No, it's
Just one of many.
it's
yeah.
a planet in a star system that does not have any native population, and no colonists in the Federation have decided to live there. It's just an empty star system with a couple of planets.
Okay. Yeah. Solaris believes the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and that she cannot reasonably stop this creature, and so she's going to say, I may lose my career for this, but I suppose I have no choice. I shall give you dispensation to do this. You promise to refrain from further attacks on other such sapient life within our part of the galaxy.
If they refrain from violence upon us. And then he'll disappear.
All right.
That you used your major there to conduct diplomacy. So it will go to them. The Secret Blade as its own action. Will attempt damage control. And I'll spend a threat for an extra die here.
I mean, we got ours, so the whole those life arms can get bent.
That is enough. They patch the breach to structure. The turn goes back to you. We've seen our Atana and the Commodore.
And the XO.
And the XO.
So it leaves us our doctor and
Which
engineer.
leaves Dr. Tweer.
Yep.
And the
Is-
engineer.
Doctor and Revere.
Yeah. Is there anything Revere needs to do, or is there anything I need to do specifically?
Your duty.
Yeah.
Kill the captain for being a bad person.
If you're not sure, Doctor, you could always use a crew support to activate one of the other captains in the fleet. and that could represent them trying to
Do something.
get involved in the situation rather than continuing on their current missions and until the Commodore recalls them.
I leave it to the Commodore and such who knows the needs of the current situation much better than I.
Well, medically,
Uh,
we just had
well-
two of us encounter an alien creature.
Yeah, you could look into that.
Yes, although
You were
okay.
called to the bridge, so
Yeah, no, and I am up there. That's not the issue. It's trying to figure out what he needs to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I presume that Dr. III does not, like, you guys had a weird experience with an alien thing. Is Tweer aware
Artana
of that?
openly
We said it out loud.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Artana openly talked about their experience. The Commodore hasn't had time to tell anybody about
Mhm.
theirs, but you definitely heard Artana talk about his entire experience.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
then
I get.
Slor said or asked him to move out of the chair so that she could talk to it.
Yeah, there is a good
Mhm.
reason to understand that Solaris might have just experienced something similar, but they haven't said
Okay.
anything yet.
Okay. Um. In which case, yeah, I think I think Dr. Tweer would like to make a roll to see if he can't understand the method of communication that this thing is using.
That would be reason, science, difficulty. Um, Difficulty 4.
There we go. Jeez, that took long enough to load. Yeah, I was just sitting here waiting for my sheet to load for like a minute.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that's dangerous to take a dig at the GM, but okay.
No. I'm talking about my actual character sheet. I was just like standing here while it was like loading for a minute. It's like, man, this is taking a while. Take a threat into momentum. In science. Xenozoology focus.
No, this is physics.
Oh, this is physics? Okay.
Yep. That's why it's science rather than medicine.
Okie doke. Medicine. I'm just looking over what I have.
They essentially scrunched space time to talk to me.
Mhm.
So I initially
Yeah.
misspoke and called it psychic, but that wasn't what they did.
Oh. Then I don't. Maybe this isn't what I should be doing then.
Well, it might be helpful to know, like, if we're not mind controlled, if the communication is something we could replicate, if we can understand their intentions. Like, we're learning about the life form, right? So.
Got it. Okay.
And any lingering effects this has on us.
Yeah, that's true.
Because if it's perfectly harmless, then okay, we're perfectly fine. If it's like, oh no, you guys have a deadly dose of gamma radiation, you're dead in an hour. We might want to understand how that works.
Could I sell you on the value of no medical mystery remains unsolved, or only trust that which you observe with your own eyes?
I'll take the third one. Artana said what they believed to be the case, but Artana's not a scientist or a medical professional and may have misunderstood the implications.
Okay. In that case, I'm rolling 3 dice. On a 14, I need 2 hits.
He got him.
Oh, for God's sake.
You want to hold on to that, or re-roll it, or give me 2 threat?
Well, $20. Yeah.
$20. Take 2 threat.
Same difference.
Okay, so
I need to
that
get y'all down, so Corbinian will start harping on y'all to take the complication, no threat.
that's that is 4 hits though.
Um, you look around and you determine that Aratana and Soloris both are approximately 5 minutes, although slightly different numbers, but approximately 5 minutes each. Ahead in physical age from what they should be from their last physical scan. They have a greater cell ages than you expect, but it's almost negligible. It's at the extreme range of what you could even detect.
Yes. So he's scanning. I'd say the way that Tweer figures this out is like he scans them medically with like his medical tricorder and realizes, Captain Aratana, did you say that you suspected that it was a psionic connection?
That was my initial assumption.
I think you might be mistaken. According to these readings, your cellular matrices are slightly offset from the rest of us. It would appear that you have experienced minor time dilation.
And then, Doctor, another scan on your tricorder finishes, and you see a flashing alarm.
He turns around.
Every now and then.
We're doing this now.
Hey, you opened the door.
The navigator, being Andorian and being from a planet with further from a star and with a thick atmosphere, has a slightly lower ability to withstand the effects of harmful radiation. Your scans indicate that the entire bridge has experienced bursts of radiation. And specifically, you get a warning that has already passed the single day safety margin for the navigator and is 83% of the acceptable daily radiation exposure for a Vulcan.
Oh wow, that's a lot. Because
yeah, this is not what they expect you to come into contact with during a day. This is if you exceed this number, you need to proceed to medical.
Get your anti-rads.
And so that is, is that everyone on the bridge then, or just the one?
Everyone is near the maximum. It's just that the Andorian crew member
has exceeded it.
Has exceeded it.
Okay.
We expect to need to give them some anti-rad meds.
Does the radiation seem to be increasing at all, or
I'll take. Can you give threat for obtain information?
if I need to, I can spend my Medal of Honor to
I'm
get 2
forgetting real
bonus.
quick if it is if you're gonna have to or not.
Whether I do or not, I'll spend it. I don't want to give you more threat.
Yeah, obtain information is not immediate; it's only repeatable.
Yeah.
So yeah, you would have to spend that. Okay. So that gives you 2 bonus. Correct? That's what it does?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So ask the question again.
Does the radiation appear to be continuing to increase?
No. Two specific bursts lasting approximately the same amount of time that the Commodore and the comms officer are ahead in time.
Okay, cool. The other question for the Andorian, is this a thing where like he needs to go down to medbay immediately,
This would
or
be without medical intervention. Best case scenario, he has a. Actually, they. I think. I don't think it's a he. I think it's a she. I can't remember though. They are at an increased risk for serious cancers. Worst case scenario, mild radiation sickness. But it's not. It's not 5 minutes to live. That would
got
be
it.
way over the. That would be like 1,000 times the acceptable, like the daily limit.
Got it. It's not hop out of my chair. You need to get down to sickbay right now. It's hey, once everything is safe and you have a moment, you might want to go down to sickbay. You've exceeded your daily radiation
Yeah,
Yep.
you could take care of
exposure.
it. You have the medication in your med kit. You could
Give
take
her a
care
shot of
that.
Haronolin.
Yeah.
Best for radiation.
But
Yes.
that is the treatment. So it could wait a little while. But regardless of when you do it, that's the treatment. It's
Yeah.
not going to get any more invasive than that yet.
Got it. In which case, the doctor will look to the captain and Aratana. It would appear that its communication has resulted in increased radiation levels. Most of the bridge is approaching its maximum safe radiation dose level. And he looks to, I keep forgetting the name. Why can I not? Oh, there it is. It's Navigator Telenik Shanai. Petty Officer Shanai, would appear you have exceeded yours. You should not see any adverse effects currently. However, I'll continue monitoring. I'd suggest not making contact with that entity uh, again unless absolutely necessary.
We got to save 172 people. I'd say it's going to be necessary.
All right. It's going to go back to them. They will buy a threat. They'll buy a die. None of those were actual complications. 3 successes. That threat is gained back. This time, rather than a physical melding, a gravitational distortion seems to lance out towards the honor of Duras from the entity. And I will pay some threat from its personal pool. Which is also a thing they'll have to cover when they cover an entity like a crystalline entity, because it's an intelligence, right? So like another NPC, it should have personal threat, but one of the main reasons for that is stress, but it doesn't take stress here, it takes breaches. So I will be interested to see the design when they get around to doing that. Because I'm not sure exactly what approach they're going to take. Sorry, not one from the personal pool, but 3. Which pushes the Honor of Durst past Shaken from the initial attack to get a breach instead. A 12 is structure. It goes back to y'all. That leaves us at Revere, I believe.
So is there anything in particular that needs doing in engineering? Hello?
Hmm?
Is there anything in particular that needs doing in engineering?
The Commodore may want weapons powered, because right now only shields are. Maybe you want to put power somewhere if the Commodore is planning to use those weapons, or maybe it's not the time for weapons yet, but that could, if it's the time for weapons, there may be something for you to do.
Or we're at power
Alternatively, you could always activate a support somewhere else.
Well, I mean, what I'm getting at is if everything in engineering is fine, I'm not got any orders from the bridge, then Revere's would, want to be looking into this thing that's sitting in the cargo bay.
Probably not terrible idea.
That
So I might,
sounds reasonable to me at this point.
yeah, go back and with a pad or a tricorder or whatever, pulling down the research and see if any attempts have been made to communicate with it.
There have. Dr. Tware's entries only show how to tell whether it has a positive or negative reaction to its current environment. But there's an addendum that I believe Artana would have just entered into the record that communication is possible with the larger form of this entity, but dangerous.
Okay. Has anything about them wanting to retrieve this entity been downloaded? This
That
fragment?
I think that I'm not. You would have to ask someone, because I think it's reasonable to assume that Artana logged the communication record, but I don't know how much of the content of that conversation was logged.
Right. So, but I know that apparently the bridge has been speaking to larger things. So I will comm up to the bridge and Revere to bridge. Are there any instructions regarding this part of the entity?
Yes, we are to facilitate its transfer towards the larger Gestalt consciousness it is a part of. I am uncertain now as to how we shall do so, but that is what has been requested of us.
Alrighty then, I'll see what I can work out down here.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there a I don't know if it can actually, this little piece of it can survive in vacuum and in space, or was that part of the report as well, or was the report theorizing the larger entity could?
No, I don't think that was ever asked.
Okay. All right, so I'll clear the security out of the docking bay, and he mentioned that the way they communicated. I'll try to use the communicator to hail the alien vessel and ask to see how I can help return their entity.
I don't think they're within range of a communicator.
Well, if he's in the main engineering, couldn't he override the console and use it as a comms console?
Could, yeah, you could attempt to use the ship's communications array, but I don't think a comms a communicator is gonna do it.
Fair enough. I'll use the comms array then.
I think it's minor to override. And then a hail is a free action.
Okay. This is Chief Engineer Revere aboard the USS Thralic to unknown entity. I have instructions to help facilitate the return of your fragment currently aboard this vessel.
As you try to communicate, the panel seems to stop working. After a second, you look up and you see Soloris, who seems to be looking at the entity. She turns to you and says, "You are ordered to use your positional energy matter converter to relocate that entity to the following coordinates," and then it lists off a very precise set of coordinates that seems unusual for something Solaris would ever do. You've worked
Okay.
with her a long time, and I don't think she's ever, rattled off down to nanometer accuracy a position in space.
Oh. Okay. Well, Revere's had recent interactions with things that look like other people. Are you actually Commodore Soloris? I just spoke with her and she was on the bridge.
No, but I do not have time to explain why I am in a position to demand and you are in the position to acquiesce. So this form should communicate that.
Well, fair enough. I do have legitimate orders from my commander. However, it would facilitate things on my end if you could communicate or tell me how to communicate to this piece of you to move towards, and I gesture over to the pads. It will decrease the chance of error and make my task simpler.
Solaris says, "1 microsecond burst of gamma radiation, putting out approximately 1,000 joules in sequence to the location you wish it to move."
So the pulse directed at the transporter pad.
A series of pulses leading it.
Very well, although intense gamma radiation is radically harmful to our type of being. Is there another
That is
way?
not a concern of mine.
Well, it is a concern of mine.
Then you may take appropriate steps.
gosh.
Is there another form of energy that would work as well or close to well enough to give this piece of you the right idea? Your piece has been very helpful to us. All I want is to help it return home, for lack of a better word. But I don't want to risk the lives of anyone else on this ship in doing so, if I can possibly help it.
Presence command difficulty. I will take it up to difficulty 4 by creating 2 traits. The first one is indifference to lesser life forms, and the other one is impatience to the time of lesser intelligence.
Ah,
You move too slow, and your requests don't matter.
well, then why are you acting like me?
Oh no,
No.
that's not what they say. That's me explaining why it's going
Oh.
to be difficult for you to. That was just me narrating the traits that are making
okay.
this hard.
Okay. But yeah, I'm going to counter with the argument that, our lives do matter and injuries to us do matter. That, and part of my argument will be, otherwise you're just acting like we are. It's presence command diff 4, you say?
I do say.
Okay, I'm going to spend my determination on I've got to figure this out. That's value.
I'll take that because if you can't
3.
figure something out here, the only way to resolve a brewing conflict is going to probably kill half the ship.
Yeah, don't want to do that.
Well, you don't.
Let's see. Did I use that to argue with the Vulcan lady? What was the episode where you got all hot and bothered, Loris?
Um.
Oh, there it is. Didn't use that value though.
Okay.
It's Legacy of Blood. So I'll call back to Thrill of the Hunt.
Thrill of the Hunt is this episode or last episode or the one before?
Oh, well, the Thrill of the Hunt Volume 1, when I figured out alien beings enough to temporarily confuse or stop them.
Volume 1.
Volume 1, yeah. So, okay. That's 2. Let's see. Don't have any focus that will apply here. Do we have any momentum? No. Okay.
No. Someone spent it all like a greedy guts.
Fair enough. All right then.
They should feel bad.
So to buy dice, I'm going to have to threat dump, I'm afraid, guys.
Blame it on Bird.
So, I'll give you 6 for a full mit. I don't have any rerolls here, I do not believe. So here we go. 5.
Nice.
All right. You gain 1 momentum, and it says it's inefficient, but alpha radiation would also suffice, and you're unlikely to be affected.
Was that so difficult? For a super intelligent, supposedly higher species, you seem dramatically more Klingon than anything else.
That's it, everybody. Just pick fights with the thing that could melt us.
Yep.
I literally let it commit space genocide if it promised not to attack us. So
I exhibit an appropriate amount of care for you as you do for the microorganisms that inhabit you, which is only mild concern, I imagine.
Oh, I don't know. I'm pretty good at eating my probiotics. I mean, granted, we're pretty harsh on microorganisms that are tend to harm us, but actually we've learned a lot about maintaining and promoting the health of the microorganisms which aid us. If we could communicate with them, we could. That's the difference here. We can talk. Maybe you
I'm
should try
sorry that
doing
you
more of
believe
it.
this form of communication is a higher form of communication. But I do not have time nor the capacity to raise you to an appropriate level of communication. Please continue with your
What do you mean you don't have? I'll start trying to rig up something. What do you mean you don't have time? You've pretty much stopped time. Doesn't seem like it's an issue for you.
I can create the time, but you're not worth the effort.
How do you know?
Oh my god.
Because you exhibit the exact same traits as a billion other forms, none of which are particularly unique or interesting from the last billion.
Well, maybe not, but I mean, isn't it worth the shot? Isn't it worth the experiment? We have changed greatly in our evolutionary and intellectual journey thus far, and we hope to continue to do so.
Do you have any momentum or
I
any
have one.
source to get bonus momentum?
We've got one momentum on the table, and yeah, I've got the Legion of Honor for a couple bonus.
I could suggest creating the trait.
I'd like to create the trait willing to talk more.
Yeah, I was thinking about something like that.
Yeah, or diplomatically inclined. I don't know. So yeah, I'll spend the Legion of Honor for those two. Spend those two to create the trait on them that they are willing to talk more,
Morbidly curious.
or willing to engage in dialogue. Yeah, or what?
Morbidly curious.
No, I don't think I want to go there.
Hey, look, I can
just
talk to the ant.
Intrigued by cats.
Yeah, there are different ways to be intrigued by cats.
That's true.
All right, I will spend threat to end this scene.
That's how annoyed he is with me now.
As you transport them over.
Okay.
And the Klingons warp away, escaping as fast as possible.
Like the cowards they are.
Organism approaches your space.
I will call up to the bridge after that. Captain Commodore, we've returned the fragment of the entity to coordinates provided by the entity, and I engaged in some conversation. I think I may have convinced them to be at least willing to talk a little bit more. It turns out that probiotics serve more than one purpose.
Maurice says, I will not ask for further specifics. Good job.
That's when you hear that from Tactical that the Klingons are moving off.
Okay, and what was the name of the planet they're going to?
It was like a random string of numbers and letters.
Yeah.
It was that, and even I don't remember. It was like X015, I think.
That's exactly what it was. It was X015.
Okay.
And consistent. Hold on, because I told you all the
Oops.
minor things that happened, but this was a reversal. A bad thing happened.
Okay.
And Revere will head for the bridge since engineering seems to be stable.
Commodore, may I retrieve my station from you?
Oh yeah, yes. She will return to her normal seat.
Ma'am?
Yeah. She has said almost nothing since her encounter with the alien and seems to be pretty deep in thought.
Yeah. That's probably there was like that polite waiting for you to get up. It's, I can't order you to move. I need you to let me sit back down.
Yeah, comes to her senses, realizes where she's standing, and then stands up and quietly moves over.
I've had that moment politely behind a customer. I need you to move. I need to grab the thing that you're in front of. Excuse me. Because apparently bodily throwing people out of the way is against the law. Yeah. Who knew? It's not written on the steps of the courthouse. It ain't the law. That's all I'm saying. It is actually the law. Please don't commit crimes, everybody.
I think we should go back to when there were like 10 laws, and if you broke one of them, they cut your eye out. I think, clearly that's where society peaked.
Well,
Listen to Moses over here.
Well, there were 12.
Yeah, that was the joke.
Some of them are kind of repetitive, but you know.
All right. You now have the extended task negotiate with Serot, also known as ULF 2032.
The Yankovic species.
Revere will assist.
Hold on, I still haven't gotten to the bad part yet.
Yeah, I don't even know what the task is yet.
See, your cake has sprinkles and frosting. I'll get to the cake in a minute, but I just wanted you to know it has frosting and sprinkles. It may have no cake. It may be nothing but frosting and sprinkles. There may be candles.
That spend was a milestone, so that gives me an extra determination.
The reversal is that despite Revere and Solaris and Artana's best efforts, it really still doesn't care about you or your needs. It's only mildly interested in avoiding dealing with you, to the point that it might be willing to talk to you if it doesn't have to kill you, because that would be convenient. So the reversal is that you only have a small window, 3 intervals, to resolve the extended task, because the entity really does not care. What bought this task at all was Willing to Talk. Willing to Talk took this from, once the Klingons retreat, they're just going to waltz right past you and go attack that planet, and you are forced to react. Revere's talking to them and his justifying of creating that trait and creating that trait bought you the extended task at all.
Okay, well.
It's not difficult to talk to them. It's only difficult to. The problem is the resistance is high because they don't see you as worthy of their consideration.
2 intervals, you say?
3 intervals.
Not possible.
Which you can have up
Okay.
for a total of up to 6 actions.
Okay.
Though that would be expensive.
What's it cost to have an interval?
2 momentum.
2 momentum.
Okay, I mean, we might have to.
I think you will have to.
You 100% have to. There's just not enough. Even if you have 5 command every time or whatever, we barely have enough time to fill the progress track.
You do benefit from non-invasive research. That is a trait that can be applied, and you do benefit from the Gestalt Iridium-based intelligence because you do understand some things about it that make diplomacy different from talking to another like Klingons or Romulans.
Mm-hmm.
There's just things it doesn't care. Like you're not going to start talking about territorial integrity, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know from their form of intelligence that doesn't matter to them. So you do have 2 traits in your favor at the moment. Again, willing to talk doesn't help because it allowed you to it gave you this narrow chance.
I think only
avoid
one of us
violence.
has the piercing resistance thing.
That's the doctor,
and
but
I
it has
both
to be
do.
medical, I believe.
No, it's reason or control. I have it as well.
Oh, there you go.
Oh.
Wow.
Unfortunately, this is presence because it is you are trying to talk them down.
But perhaps the argument might be that we have to reason among ourselves the thing we need to say, rather than
I could be convinced of that, yeah.
Yeah, because rather than throwing sophistry at them and hoping some trick of words will convince his superior intelligence, like, no, they don't want us to waste time. What is the one thing they need to hear? That's the thing we need to tell them. And that makes it easier to figure out what to tell them.
So who wants to attempt that?
The next question then on our side is, what department does that fall under? Because that changes if it's the doctor who should do it or the engineer. Only 2 of us can really pierce to that resistance. That resistance is what's going to kill us. That's why we have to pierce it.
I would take your suggestions on right. I guess it's up to Revere and the doctor, right? If one of you is about to get a sudden burst of inspiration to help guide the Commodore on what they need to say, where is that going to come from?
I might suggest it might come from me, if only just because I'm the one who did that previous research with the thing the first time. And
That
you know what? Wait,
seems
I
like
even created a trait. I remember I made
Yes.
like a trait that we did the whole thing like uninvasively.
Non-invasively.
And
yeah, that
That's
was
what he
available.
mentions that would help.
So I think that falls under science because that was
well, I remember
because you
half
were
of that
engaged in
task.
scientific research.
Well, I remember half of that task was science, and then the other half was medicine.
Then you would need to justify what you learned from that that's going to help here, and that may tell us whether it's science or medicine.
I'm thinking that
The physical and mental makeup of life forms.
yeah. Yeah, well, I'm also thinking that like this thing clearly doesn't communicate in like a normal manner, and trying to figure out how the larger life form communicates and how it facilitates that like biologically.
I could buy that. I'll buy that with reason medicine.
Okay. What do we got?
So are we working on the main task now, or?
You are working
Yes.
on the main task.
Okay.
It was an option to just keep to go into a back and forth where you're just doing
keep
presence command, you're
badgering
just
him,
making
but
more and more arguments, trying to work them down. The suggestion was, instead of doing that, huddle and
figure out the
try
thing it
to
needs to hear.
build an argument, and then the last roll is going to have to be presence medicine. Whenever y'all get to the final interval and there could be nothing else, or when you're ready to, there will be a presence command, but it's been suggested that y'all use your time to build an argument rather than just engage them continuously.
Okay.
And Doctor, let me spend this term assisting you, which means you get a free reroll from advisor, and that's an automatic too because of Christopher Pike Medal of Valor.
How many free assists do we get? Because we want
One.
a bunch of
Each
momentum.
additional one costs 1 momentum.
Okay.
Sorry, Captain. Can you repeat that? An email popped up that I had to
Oh, you're fine.
quickly read.
I have the Christopher Pike Medal of Valor. I have 2 copies of it, in fact, which means I'm assisting you. So, and I have advisor. So you're going to get a free reroll and an automatic. My assist is not.
And what's the diff?
2. It's
2.
in scene type.
Resistance 5, but I think because it's reason, you ignore resistance.
Yep. Starfleet Medical Xeno Specialist Lecturer.
That would apply for 2 hits.
Cool.
So
In which case, I'm not gonna spend any threat. I'm
and
just
you
gonna.
have 2 traits that I don't think you've used yet.
Be aware that you only get the benefits of the talent if you succeed on the task.
Well, it's a difficulty 0.
No, fair enough.
I cannot fail it.
So you also have 2 traits that you would want to apply. From the ones on your sheet, there are 2.
Yeah, well, I said
Yeah.
I said the Xeno Specialist Lecturer and what, Renowned Physician?
No, these are not yours. They're ones affecting the scene, which is the Gestalt Iridium-based intelligence. So what you know about how it thinks specifically, and non-invasive research, the fact that you didn't poke and prod it, you respected it.
And Corby's right. We want to build as much momentum as possible because we're going to have to spend.
Yep.
Oh, fiddlesticks and horse manure.
So you could put those towards difficulty, or you could save them to put towards progress.
Hmm.
And time is a huge factor.
Or you could use them to reduce the interval.
That's
yeah,
good.
no, that's what we have to be doing that.
Yeah.
So you get an automatic 4 successes, right, between my 2 and the 2 traits.
Oh, actually, here's a question, Cap. Do you have a determination on hand?
I do. I can also give you my determination. So
because I did have to spend mine earlier. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind too terribly.
Yep. Okay.
No medical mystery remains unsolved, or only trust that which you observe with your own eyes.
I'll take the only trust you observe with your own eyes, because this is you thinking from your own research that you did personally.
Cool. So I only roll 1 die. I already have 2 hits.
Okay. What are you doing with the 2 traits that are still on the table? The 2 that affect the scene, not researcher.
Right. Did we want to put that towards anything specific, gang?
I mean, if we
progress.
put it towards more, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it. Yeah, difficulty.
Yeah, because normally we'd put those to resistance, but they're not. It's 0 right now, so it's better to just build a cachet.
So in that case, together, they'd buy you 1 extra work, because I believe work is 1
2 for 1 momentum
per.
2 for 1,
yeah. Yep. So
okay.
I just roll.
So,
I roll 1 die.
Go ahead. So that's 3 from you, 2 from the commander. That's 5 on a diff 2. So that's 3 momentum gained.
5 on a diff 2.
Wait.
What's your?
Wait a minute. Wait. Hold on. That doesn't sound right. Because my medical.
There's additional 2 because I was only taking into account your traits, but your determination as well, right? So, so that's 5 from you plus 2 from the Commodore. So that's 5 momentum gained.
There we go. What's it cost to cut the time down?
2.
Okay. And then I'll spend 2 for 1 more work, and I will leave that 3rd momentum on the board so I can do it on the next so I can spend it on my next go around, because then I'll be able to like cautious medicine and
I don't think you're gonna buy more than 1 task. You have I don't know that there's much more you can provide to the commander from a this is medically how their thought process
Oh,
works.
okay.
Like that's only so useful. She's not going to be able to base her entire argument over I know how you think.
Okay.
But you have done 7 of 21, so you've done a third of the work.
Would I, if I had the momentum to do so, like bonus momentum, would I be able to do more work?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
2 for 1.
Okay. I will spend my Legion of Honor, generate 2 bonus momentum. That's an additional work.
That gets you to 8 out of 21.
And I probably would have had to declare it beforehand. I could have Surgeon's Decorationed it.
Yeah.
What would that do?
That would have dropped the difficulty by 2 again off the bat.
It wouldn't have increased or decreased your risk of failure, so I'm fine with it. Right? You already were guaranteed to succeed. If you weren't guaranteed to succeed, there may be a question about whether we should accept that, but you couldn't have failed, so
Yeah.
there's no reason to worry about that.
Okay, well
so
then that's another 2 hits on top of everything. So that's that brings you to 9 work.
that does, which is still short of half. So no breakthrough yet, but you
I
did
did my best, guys.
If I can find an engineering tack, I have a lot of stuff to bring to an engineering extended task role. What?
I have a thought. It may
Okay.
be engineering wise. Perhaps the method we communicate can be made as efficient as possible because they are a higher life form, so we don't have to slow down for them. We need to crunch the hell out of this message and make it as fast as possible, so that way they have in
We're not annoying them.
Yeah.
Right.
Because a hail's like an audio message and
in,
everything else. Yeah.
Right. Maximum information in minimum. Yeah.
Maximum
So,
maximum compression, maximum.
Right. Okay.
So much compressed
max
audio.
Density. Compressed audio.
Okay.
Maximum density.
I forget audio. Just make it raw data as we can get away with, and presume that they can, with a certain level of higher intelligence, they can process it.
Crack it, yeah.
With the doctor's medical role, we presumably know just how to do that now. Considering we now know exactly how they operate and communicate.
So,
I mean, does the GM agree to this?
Yeah. Keep in mind that I am now a full blown.
I would buy it more if it was rather than stripping things down to make them faster, that you're going to use the computer to strip out unnecessary information from them, so that when the Commodore's talking to them, it's only the absolute pertinent information the Commodore gets.
Okay.
Right. Instead of if they sent, as an analogy, if they sent a 20-page diplomatic response, but only one sentence of that deals with whether or not they're going to cross the border and attack, the computer cuts everything else and just gives that.
Yeah.
And the Commodore can go back and look at the full communication later, but you're going to try to strip out unnecessary communication to make it faster on your side to talk to them.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how you would speed up you talking to them. Although it is audio communication, you are sending it over subspace, which is the fastest thing known to y'all at the moment, is subspace communication. So I don't think...
Well, it wouldn't be, in my head, it's not speeding it up so much as it is creating a information dense microburst packet. So it's more along the lines of encoding the information so that, maximum information in minimum size,
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, because audio is inefficient. It's way faster
Right.
and more efficient to just throw a huge data packet at something.
Yeah.
Because normally you wouldn't do that because that's kind of not a
Right.
It's like talking to somebody in data bursts. I mean, we kind of do that. We're kind of doing that now, technically, but
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. In this thought process, the file you're sending them, what's in that other than audio, right? You sending them a you sending them a
Well, I mean, even if what you're programming the computer to do was, filter out the fluff to get to the meat of the matter, you're probably not in the end sending them, Soloris's voice. You're probably just, filtering out and sending them the argument. So, it's not even necessarily the case that we need to, our transmission needs to be audio. It could be data.
yeah, just a data burst. We just need to figure out what to send them, basically.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But this role would be what is the best, most efficient way, combining the computer and our transmission to get them as much information as possible.
I would buy it that way, yeah. So I'll call this reason engineering.
Okay, fair enough. So let's apply, we've got 2 standing traits, so let's apply that to reduce the difficulty to 0 first off.
All right.
Cryptologist as a personal trait.
I see what you're thinking.
Because fundamentally I'm encoding information.
Stay out of it.
I'm thinking because you asked me about whether or not you should take. Oh, that was a focus.
Yeah, this is you raised
Okay,
my
this is the
trait
trait.
from
Sorry.
amateur to, yeah.
Yes, that'll work.
Okay, what about innovative engineer?
I'll take that as well.
Okay, what about trusted friend of Soloris? Because I know how the captain thinks. I know how she argues things.
I will also take that. Yep.
Okay, so there's,
And
there's,
oh, go ahead, sorry.
oh no, go ahead.
You get a free roll with advisor, and I'm using my other. If you let me assist you, I'm using my other copy of the Pt.III Medal of Valor to treat my D20 as a 1.
Cool. I have project manager, which lets me nominate a number of characters up to my command rating to be part of my team. While they're working on this task, they ignore the normal momentum or threat cost for assisting and increase their impact by 1 when working on an extended task, which I don't really think applies here for the basic role.
Okay, so what's your command?
My command is 4.
Which means
everybody
gets in on this task if they want.
Yeah.
Either as
everybody.
themselves or an NPC.
So I think we can make some serious momentum here. Okay. I also have, just as a heads up, I do have Miracle Worker, which on an engineering task allows me to increase impact by spending 1 momentum instead of 2. increase scrutiny to ignore the resistance, and then
Okay.
three hits off of my personal traits. I do have determination since I did a milestone this episode. I will. What are some of the what are?
And I'll resolve Inslee, and then we'll go one round because there's so many assists
Yeah.
here. We'll go.
Right.
I was writing it down just so I didn't forget it.
I will spin towards directive 1 because that is what we're trying to do here. Prevent any hostile incursions.
Did you not already spin towards determination?
It was a milestone, so I got one.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Number 1 is yes.
Okay. So, and then I will give you 1 threat just for the engineering reroll.
Okay.
Computer science for a focus.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see what we got here. And so,
so to recap,
I've got 3 hits from personal traits.
Where did you get the? So how did you buy up the die?
Gave you a threat so that I could hit bold engineering if I needed to.
Okay. Doctor, you didn't give me a threat, did you?
No, I did
Okay.
not.
Okay. So, well, but you used determination, right? So that's what I was asking. It's you didn't buy a 4th die.
It's only 2 of the
no,
dice will
no.
count.
No, I'm talking about Revere.
Oh, okay.
You bought 3 die. You bought up to a 3rd dice, right?
Right.
So that last one didn't happen. That's your determination die.
Okay.
So that's 4. 2 from the traits on the table is 6. I think it was 3 from your personal traits.
Yep.
Is 9.
Yep. And then determination. Yeah. Unless you already counted that.
Counted determination. And then Solaris is automatically critting.
Yep, with 2.
Okay, so just with that and your first assist, you're up to 11 on a difficulty 2. So in order of Discord, how is Ivanov helping? This is trying to use the computers efficiently with Dr. Tweer's knowledge of how they think to speed up the talks.
He knows all about dropping the definite
I mean,
article.
he has computer science.
Then you could assist by working with Revere on the reason engineering and use those.
I do not want to do reason engineering, but
I'd take reason and science as well because computer science is much more of a science than it is a
Engineering discipline.
Engineering discipline. In Star Trek parlance, though, it does turn out to be engineering a lot, though.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird.
They have to give the orange shirt something to do so the teals don't.
Well, yeah, you know.
well, die.
Computer science
right.
was very much a engineering discipline when TOS was written.
Well, even TNG is a lot of pushing out isolation.
You just went robotic. You
Okay. Okay.
Whatever happened to Revere, he's an engineering discipline now.
The machine spirits are with him.
So yeah, I take all of that.
Resistance 5.
You're just on the assist, so
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Focus, reason science. Wait, can I technically? Wait a second. No, I'm assisting, right? It does just says
You
on
are.
any task. That means I need to be the main roller, not the.
Yeah.
Does that work for both of those? Yes.
All right. Soloris, we already know. Twir just stepped away. So Aratana. I accept communication systems. I think that would be control engineering, since I feel like you're more starting to implement. Unless you're talking about the theoretical side, like that's all good and well, but this is how our equipment actually works. So we need to ground our theorizing here on the current equipment. That I would take like insight engineering.
I'll lean to control engineering. I won't fight you on that.
Okay. So as Revere is talking about what to do, you're starting to reset the array for this. Not causing any problems, but not speeding up the process.
Could I, through that, try to pull in the ship's assist? I'm actually like fiddling with the controls and the knobs and stuff.
No, because this is a task to actually set the ship up to do the thing correctly.
Yeah, it was worth a gamble.
So it could be brought in later. So that's 11 successes on a diff 2.
9.
And
So
Twir
that's
gets to
Oh, when he gets
put in
back
too, doesn't
someday.
he?
He's gonna
yeah. Let's go ahead and assume he got a 0 until if he shows up before.
Okay.
Just so we don't run into anybody's time limits. I don't want to waste 6 minutes or something.
Right. Okay, so how much? It's 2 to reduce the interval.
So first, what's your
5.
And you have a way to zero out resistance, right?
Yeah, I've got intense scrutiny, and that was a reason task. So
that gets you up to 14 out of 21, which gets you your first breakthrough.
okay.
at least 2 of that needs to half intervals. Unless we have to spend for half intervals every time, or is that do we spend once and it's always halved?
No, you spend per task.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
At
least that has to be set aside.
Don't spend anything yet.
Right.
So.
You're an engineer, so. Oh, catch up with me, computer. I know.
Sorry, I don't think I've been saving the scene guide as often as I should be. So the breakthrough is their primary form of communication seems to be the generation of wormholes. They can manipulate space-time enough to artificially create wormholes. You do not have the power to do that, but you do have the power to prevent one from collapsing as fast. So if they initiate a communication, you can keep the tunnel open long enough to send a reply.
Okay.
Which, whereas your current subspace communication is like warp 9.99999 or something, this would be effectively sending communications at warp 10. It's just instantaneously, as soon as it leaves the communications array, they have it. There's literally no lag time. But you I think we'll actually have to. I think the next step is going to be a daring engineering, because you'll actually have to set up the tractor beam and the communications array to pull that off. The only caveat is that on that task you cannot achieve 21 progress because there is a presence command roll required. So you
Okay,
have at
I mean-
least 2 more tasks remaining.
I can get up to, I mean, theoretically, mechanically, I could take it to 21 now.
I would. I'm saying that there is a trait in play that will not allow you to go to 21 because you actually have to talk to them.
Send the
All
communication.
of this has been to justify what we're going to say to them when
Right.
we get to them. So
So-
I would not allow you to spy the
Right.
21st point.
So,
Buying the 20 isn't bad.
If-
though.
yeah, if I bought to 20, would I still, we still need that other task to set everything up, or would that kind of be, well, that's taken care of with all the spins?
I would need you to create a trait here to cover that you have already made the engineering changes.
Okay, so, and I think with this roll, we're interval 2 of 6.
You're until we get to the spending, you're 3 of 6.
3 of 6. Okay, so
So you have
right.
to set aside 2 to give yourself to shave it down.
Okay, so then let's
You
spend.
may, yeah, because well, no, you have enough intervals left for 2 tasks.
But why make life harder on ourselves if we don't have to?
Yeah, you could. That is true. You could.
Right.
That
So,
was just
okay.
if you were trying to maximize momentum.
So I'm only seeing 10. We should have 11, right? No, right. There's 11 hits, but okay, right.
Yeah.
So okay,
There's
2
11
to
hits on a diff 2, so there should be
Right.
9.
We had one.
Moment.
We had one sitting in the tank because you didn't
Okay.
use it.
So 2 to increase or decrease the interval.
Increase.
That
Screw
brings you
all
down
of
to
you.
2 of
Right, yeah. 2 to create the trait engineering modifications complete. And then because of Miracle Worker, it's a 1-to-1 spend for me.
Jesus.
So I can spend that 6 and bring it to 20.
2, 3, 4. God save the Starfleet Engineering Corps, or the Corps of Engineers, I should say.
So that brings us to 20
Everybody
out
talks
of
about super science, but it's
21
the engineers who
with
put
the
those
trait
2
of
warp systems
modified
together.
comms. You get another breakthrough.
We're ready for you, Commodore.
So I'm making a presence commands check.
Hold on.
There's a breakthrough
I'm
coming through.
introducing the an additional breakthrough is achieved, so I need to introduce that.
Because it could be good for us, it could be bad for us. Pure theory crafting. If we... Right now, even with the resistance, if you make the diff, and you have at least 2 momentum to scare up, you can get that 1 work to get you over the line. Assuming all things are as things are, I think we can do it that way. Because your command's so high, like you just meet the resistance on your own, but you need at least 2 momentum to get yourself that 1 last work. But who knows what he's going to do with this stuff. Yeah, no, the reason I was so scared about us having that too many intervals is what if you roll guard? What if you just have the worst roll possible, or this complication makes it super hard, or whatever? I was like,
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't want
that's
you to be
reasonable. Give
breathing.
ourselves a second.
Sorry, go ahead.
I said it makes complete sense to want to have a second chance at all this.
Yeah.
Dolores does not want to have to write the report to the Admiralty that says I let a giant space goo kill a bunch of people.
Like, how
But
many
you're the only
repi-
one who knows about that conversation. So if you
Yeah,
could
but
live with it.
she's definitely not going to keep that to herself.
That's how she becomes one of those bad admirals in the shows. The great secret that's discovered in the Next Generation era.
Yeah.
The great crime. I wonder what happened to this planet. The mystery was never solved. Wait, you let this happen, Admiral? Well, let is a strong word. It was logical to
It's
allow
a
it
shame.
to happen.
It's a shame 172 people had to die, but we didn't know them very well.
They were smugglers and committing, Sophont rights abuses, okay?
Right. I mean, it's probably a hive of scum and villainy.
Probably, I mean, look, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few and all. It was them or the entire Federation.
All right. I spend 4 on a reveal. The reveal is Revere, you notice while postulating about how their wormhole communications work, what they use is an offensive weapon system.
Ta-ta-ta.
A graviton beam you would equate to the whole energy they could produce. In this case, in STA terms, they have a graviton spinal lance, which is devastating and intense, and a lot of damage.
To put it mildly.
The breakthrough is incomprehensible intelligence. You know that they are more intelligent than you, and working together, Dr. Tweer and Lieutenant Revere, all of their suggestions lead you to believe, Solaris, that the true level of intelligence here is not something you can put into easy terms like you're an ant to them. It's so much more than that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A whole other order of magnitude.
And lastly, 2 Klingon D7s with transmitters suggesting that they are not house ships, but they are KDF ships. KDF patrol vessels are inbound. So incomprehensible intelligence, that was the breakthrough. That raised the diff by 1. The reveal just told you something you wish was bad for you to know, did you wish wasn't true, which was that they don't have a unlimited ability to just destroy you like with a finger, but they do have a weapon which is more powerful than anything you've encountered from an alien species before, though not an instant death weapon.
Mm-hmm.
If there are any, 4+3, they're at least you're looking at least 7 intensity minimum.
No, it is close to instant death, but it is not. It is mechanically. It has what I meant to suggest is it has mechanical weight rather than just a fiat. You're
Yeah.
dead.
Swallow, everyone
Right.
dies thing. Yeah.
It technically interacts with your ship's stats.
Yeah.
It's
pretty bad.
So another 8 was spent to bring in the 2 D7s, and the final complication I'm spending based on those D7s to reduce your progress to 19.
Okay.
Being that they're still not really caring about the difference between you and the D7s, and they don't even really care if those D7s are different from the other ones. To them, there's more of you again, which makes this an unbalanced situation.
Mhm.
There's 3 mosquitoes instead of just 1.
Yep. So, you do not yet have to, you could do another task that is not presence command, but to end this, to get the final point of the progress, this would be presence command.
So, yeah.
So what's the difficulty am I looking at?
3.
Difficulty 3, resistance 5.
Okay, diff 3, resistance 5. So I need to succeed and get at least 2 hits to complete the task.
You
Or-
do have 2 free hits from traits on the table.
Okay, so I would need to succeed and get 2 momentum. Sorry.
4.
Actually, you also get modified comms because, although necessary to skip a task, it also it's not. It wasn't necessary to talk to them, so that's still. So there's three traits on the table.
So basically diff 0, but you need to make 4 momentum.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's an easier way of framing it. And there's no momentum.
And you get 1 free assist.
All right, a focus in diplomacy or rhetoric.
Diplomacy.
All right. None of those are going to be useful. I don't think I can mind meld with them.
Not that you'd want to, honestly.
It's possible. No one's tried to do it
It's
yet.
also
but you
possible to
could.
hold the 3rd rail, but I'm not going to do it.
Right.
That's very true.
It's going to be really exciting for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Right.
Exciting's one word for that. Okay, presence, command, diplomacy. You have no momentum. We have no threat.
That's
3.
not how either of those things work.
You knew what I meant. Take 3 momentum. Or is it take
Threat.
5 threat? Yeah, I'm buying a full knit with threat.
Yep.
So I believe that's enough on its own because that's 4 successes.
Yep. Does someone want to assist?
I don't know if we need it, but like, why not?
The reason why not is we might generate a complication. You have it on your own.
All right, then let's just take it as it is.
Okay.
Better to just succeed.
So what's your command?
5.
Okay, so that matches the resistance. So you're going to spend the 4 you generated on 2 work to get to 21 out of 21?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Eventually, what only takes a few minutes to arrange and communicate, though to them it feels like a lifetime, you work out an agreement to escort them to the planet to retrieve their component entities while they will refrain from violence unless attacked.
Excellent. I believe everyone wins here.
The complication, I'm creating 2 complications. The first is emergency transmission from the Orions. And the second one is that the smugglers are going to scatter.
That's fine.
You will find their base along with the ill-gotten gains. And so you're able to recover the promised components, but the smugglers themselves have evaded custody.
Like, perfectly acceptable given the circumstances.
How did I lose the doctrine?
When I grabbed momentum, I did a box, and these guys are all in the token layer, so I was able to delete them.
Okay.
Which I did not know until after I deleted them, and as a player, I can't undo deletions. That's a GM thing.
Oh, okay. Turns out Solaris Revere died a couple of years ago, and you just invented all of this work with him and Tuir.
Yeah, we cut, and it's like Solaris is just babbling to herself, and like, Tuir's like talking to the rest of the crew, and is like, well, if she's delivering results, who are we to stop her?
Infinite diversity, infinite combination,
I'm
right?
thinking, like, we see Dr. Tuir in like a pleasant facility on a green verdant planet, and Solaris is in like a wheelchair mumbling, and Doctor says, I don't think she'll ever come back around.
He claims to be the captain of a starship for decades now. There's no hope of recovery.
So
instead of a writer for a pulp magazine. Oh wait, what? That we've already seen that episode.
So instead of being a badmiral, she is a sadmiral.
Inside you there are two wolves.
Ensign Kaufman speaks up and says, Commodore, the Cerot life form is no longer on tactical sensors.
Wow, with wormhole technology, that's no surprise.
We can only hope that they do not disturb us until millennia in the future, where we are upon their level.
Is this after they picked up their fragment?
Yes, this is
Okay.
They've picked them up and they just disappeared.
And she kind of just like looks around at the other members of the bridge and says, I will compose the bulk of this report for Starfleet Command, but I imagine the Admiralty will want statements from all of this. Constitutes first contact with a being hard to imagine beforehand.
Well, I mean, we got to make first contact, so that's always a bit of fun.
I was afraid I was not going to be able to convince them from stopping their violent course. I'm glad no one else had to suffer.
Well, if one man could convince a planet full of bloodthirsty predators to stop killing each other for a few millennia, I think we can manage to talk to one super intelligence.
Plus, there was some fun engineering.
Yeah, I
And
didn't know
I'm
we
sure
could...
that.
Oh, go ahead, Doctor. Sorry.
And I'm sure I'll be able to publish at least one paper out of this.
Only one.
Why?
I said at least.
Ah.
The navigator turns around and says, Doctor, should I go now?
Wait, who turns around and says that?
Who?
The navigator. Who
Oh,
receives
right, the one that-
a high dose
Yes.
of radiation.
Dolores looks at her and then frowns for a second and then says, yes, quite. Anyone who has suffered a high dose of radiation is relieved from duty.
It's just a
Well,
shot
everyone-
of Ronalyn.
Yes.
Commodore, recommend that we also set aside time to purge the deck 1 of radiation exposure, since I imagine there's various surfaces gotten a bit irradiated too.
Yes, I agree with that sentiment. If everyone on the bridge would be able to come and see me at some time in the next day or two, just to confirm that radiation exposure was within reasonable tolerances.
Understood. Bridge crew, please move main command elements to main engineering temporarily. Engineering, please begin cleaning this room of rads. Everyone else, go to medical.
Ensign, whose name escapes me, even though I just said it. Ensign Kaufman says, "See, this is why I was a fan of the design that had the command bridge. You should still consider that, Commodore, if we ever go back into the shipyard."
Battle
Oh,
bridge.
and stay out of the cargo bay. We'll have to decon there too.
Right. So many smugglers, so many animal rights abuses, and still none of them suffer justice.
But don't we still have the Orions?
Yeah, they've been arrested.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
ones
okay.
you actually had in tow, yeah, they were arrested.
And she will amend that to so few of them suffer justice.
Justice may be slow, but it's always moving. It chases you no matter where you run.
Plus, if they all did, we'd be out of a job.
I'd rather be unemployed than be in an unjust universe.
And
No fear of that.
we close before too many quips can be the good one.
And everyone wants the last word here.
I was about to say, hey, there's a good quip here. We can end on it. Well, that's a good quip. Stop it.
Look, we're in sweeps week. No, for all of you watching.
This is the thing about improv.
can't
Is you
write
yes
the
and
last
until
line
the
of the
moderator
episode.
hits the button.
So, for everyone watching out there, thank you very much for watching. For those of you playing and running, thank you very much for doing so. And we look forward to seeing you again next time for part 4. No, I'm just kidding. It's probably going to be the episode. Bye. If it is part 4, I swear to God, I will riot.
God.
I will riot. Actually, there's this other thing you need to deal with. See, you didn't know, but that radiation was actually the Commodore's baby.
I'm loving
You
these
never
multi-part
boarded the
episodes
Orion ship.
because I get here. I get to stay for the whole thing.
Yeah, it's worked out.
And no one died, so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh boy.
I wanted
I
to
can't
shoot all
believe
once,
you
but
gave an
y'all were
alien
all-
critter the permission to kill 170